Welcome back to the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, there's been a lot of speculation around Saudi Arabia and, Saudi Arabia basically stating that they are interested in making the Gervonta Davis, a.k.a. Abdul Wahid fight, and that fight being a fight against Devin Haney. And, I've been on record, and as a matter of fact, we were discussing this in our Discord. AM Sports Media does have a Discord where we talk boxing. And we talk about some of the things that we hear behind the scenes that we will not make a video on. So if you guys are interested, check it out. AM Sports Media Discord. We're always talking boxing in there. But we were talking about this, Saudi Arabia. And there's just so many people that believe that Saudi Arabia is the answer, that everything is about to start flowing through Saudi Arabia. And that now there's potential for the Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney fight to be made in Saudi Arabia. I've never been on board with this, Jay. That fight, I think, if and when it occurs, it will be on U.S. soil. And there's a reason for it being on U.S. soil. Number one, Gervonta Davis, who is one of the biggest fighters in the sport, I just don't think there's really any real interest of going over there. And I don't think his team has any real interest in going to Saudi Arabia because Gervonta Davis can make hella cash over here in the United States. You understand what I'm saying? And so I don't think there's any need for him to do that. And then I think from Devin's perspective, I think Saudi Arabia is probably of interest to him. But even then, if he continues to build his profile in a manner in which I believe he can, there's plenty of money to be made here in the States as well versus Gervonta Davis. So I don't think that's going to happen. Well, just like a few minutes ago, dude, Tank actually addressed this entire situation, which I thought was interesting. And shout out to my guy, Ray Jack, for sending this over to us or sending it over to me. I appreciate you, fam. Ray Jack states, motherfuckers really think Saudi is about to take over boxing until I see Tank and Canelo over there in multiple events a year. We ain't got shit to be worried about. You can't take over a sport without the biggest stars on board. And he gives the shrug. And Tank reposted it. And then he also responded saying, they made me mad. If they want me, they got to send me something to my front door, like 2 Ferraris or something. So this whole notion that Tank and Devin Haney can be made by the Saudi Arabians, I just don't see that being the case. Tank just said that he needs 2 Ferraris showing up at his door. And to be quite honest with you, I think he's probably being facetious. In reality, my guess is Tank has really no real interest in going over there to Saudi Arabia, and it would take a mound of money. I mean, an absolute mound of money to get him to go over there to Saudi Arabia to make that fight. So I don't think that fight is something that's going to be made anytime soon. Personally, I don't think the fight is going to be made anytime soon, just because of what we stated in our last video in regards to Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis and some of the comments, or at least a comment that was made by Leonard Ellerby. But this kind of underscores what we have been talking about from a Saudi Arabia perspective, which is just because Saudi Arabia is talking about fights being made, we saw what Saudi Arabia talking about fights in the past. What was the other location that always talked about a lot of fights? The United Immigrant, what is it called? United Immigrant. Yeah, I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me in a second. But Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a few videos ago about how we doubt Tank will be fighting over there anyway, and it's just pretty much as it. He wants more. He wants everything up front anyway, and he's done a hell of a job in the States. So why would you leave that? It's like we saw what they did, the production they did with on December 23rd, where they had all the heavyweights. It was a decent production, but they're not getting paid like Tank wants to get paid. Some of the stuff they're talking about, Tank's already made that. So if you're going to want him to uproot himself from the States to go over there, you got to make it worth his while. You got to pay him something that he's never been paid before. I don't think they're going to do that. So I don't see that happening at all. If he's going to have a fight, he's going to be in the States. He's the one that's going to dictate everything. But like you said, send me 2 Ferraris or something to his front door. He wants to make sure it's real. He ain't trying to fall for the banana and tailpipe like other fighters have fallen before. Plus, you can see how the sales didn't do all that hot on the day of their reckoning on December 23rd with all the heavyweights. We know Tank brings a different crowd and people to watch him and whatnot. But that's also going to keep a lot of his fans from actually going to the fight. People go to Tank fights. We know that he sold out basically everywhere he's fought at in the States. So why would you leave that and you're not getting paid anymore to go somewhere else and you're not getting paid? You're getting paid the same or less, and you're not going to have your fans there like you want. This is it's a prize fighting. You want to make sure you get the biggest prize, and I don't see them giving the biggest prize for him to go all the way over there. So I don't think it's worth his while. And this right here, the tweets from him just pretty much solidifies that they got to make it worth his while for him to go. I'm not saying they can't, but right now they got a ways to go to get Tank to change location for his fight.
Yeah. The location I was thinking about was United Arab Emirates. So I'm thinking about Dubai. I think there was a lot of conversations about fights being staged.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, fights being staged over there. It was slipping my mind at the moment. I just never thought that this was. So we've seen Saudi Arabia. They've put on the fight between the big heavyweight card over there with Wilder and AJ, and so that's good. They're now hosting the AJ and Francis Ngannou fight. So yes, they are now starting to put their foot in the water, tip their toe in the water, if you will. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's a far cry from actually taking over boxing. And I think it's a little bit different because you're talking about two foreigners. You're talking about some native foreigners that ended up going over there to Saudi Arabia. I think when you think about Joseph Parker, Anthony Joshua, Bivol, these are guys that naturally they're from that area. The only person that I can think of off the top of my mind they were over there, but necessarily wasn't from that area is like Deontay Wilder, Big Baby. They're not from that side of the globe. So, I mean, yes, they are taking an initial step to get into boxing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're taking over boxing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see, more American fighters over there. Is it possible? Sure. But I don't know if it's practical. Huh?
They're going to have to pay someone of Tank's stature. You're going to have to pay to get him over there. Tank's on a whole different level. You're not just going to get him over there for, 10 million, anything like that. You gotta break the bank for Tank, because he puts cheeks and seats, he puts eyeballs on the pay-per-views as well, so you're going to make it, you're going to have to break the bank for Tank, and then you're going to have to make a huge production because Tank's not stepping back. His team is not taking a step back from where they're going right now. They're not doing that.
I agree. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to what Gervonta Davis had to say relative to Saudi Arabia. A lot of people felt that this was a possibility with Saudi Arabia stating that they are interested in getting Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney over there in Saudi Arabia. I know a lot of people looked at that and said, you know what, there's now a possibility of this occurring in 2024. I don't think Saudi Arabia in their statements make that fight any more likely for 2024. And quite frankly, based off of Gervonta Davis' response, it doesn't sound like he's very interested in going over there at the moment. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are out.